When you start to add up what this industry is today and where it's going, it's a profound moment when we can see some of the biggest giants in our industry rattling, a $20 billion alignment of sales in their pendulum of business. I can really see a focus that our industry is going that is going to bring about a monstrous change to how we all perceive how we actually communicate and also how we distribute. And these giants are special in the fact that they've been able to move this forward for so many decades. So when you look at some of these big giants and they're offering back to the field, you and I as distributors in this wonderful industry, the 30-40% payout structure is profound. What we started to realize was, as we could look at these big giants, we also recognized that there's some big components to the elements that make the difference of whether we're going to see some of the success if we're delving into this venture alignment or this next gig. Some of the key factors that are so important, I think, to elevating a message is not only does the masses have the ability to elevate it, but those components that they're elevating have to be significant. When you're talking about a product that has the ability to change people's complete health alignment, allowing them to move their body back into their original alignment, people can relate with that pretty quick. And having some superiority in that field is profound. We also need to put ourselves in a position where we're going to give greater compensation to people so they're more incented to actually move forward. And these are all the points that all of us have to go through when we're trying to analyze whether we're in the right position, in the right company, in the right environment, in the right timing. Because timing happens to be the most critical value. It'd be great if we were one of the first guys that were selling a typewriter, but today it's an obsolete device. So even though we were the best manufacturer of a device called a typewriter, it doesn't bring any relevance to the marketplace today. So regardless of how good we are at our field, if it's not marketable in today's standards, it's something that we have to look beyond. So here we are in this profile that is one of the most critical values to any opportunity really moving forward for all of us. When you look at the timing of the equation and you start to look at some of the elements that come to the table, you're going to see a step process in every business model. Usually at the lower part of this curve is the high risk element that most people struggle with wrapping their head around that venture and participate. Whether we're investing in it or whether they're participating in it. Often when you get to the top of that parapet line, that stabilization line that we call it too late into the equation, happens in every industry. Timing it so we get it at the point of no risk, but also in the ground floor alignment, we are going to be assured, based on statistics, that we're going to see probably 80% of all the wealth that's happening in that venture through its lifetime, okay? You can look at some of the original investors of the biggest corporations this world's ever seen, and you can go back and you can start to see where they hit this parapet point of critical mass and momentum that shifted into a very fast growth period where all the wealth was made. And we can also see those same companies in a lot of cases are still in that alignment of stabilization, meaning they're not at the major growth lines throughout the process. So what we like to see in this profile is that low risk, but we also like to be in a position where we're prior to it going through critical mass and momentum. Right now we're looking at, typically in a ground floor application, you're looking at somewhere around 150,000 distributors where you can look back at some point in your business model and say it happened right here based on numbers. And these numbers continue to wrap themselves around that 150,000 distributor benchmark. Well, right now we're looking at about 80,000, less than 100,000 distributors in the whole entire company of LifeVantage. And yet still today, half of them are here in the United States. So where we reside, we are at a very, very infancy position in moving this message forward. The reason why we've been able to capture so much attention comes from this element of Nrf2. This Nrf2 technology, which is a standard process that's going on in your body every day. This Nrf2 activation, that when we actually are eating, breathing, and drinking, we are creating a chemical reaction in our body, and that byproduct of what we're trying to get rid of is that alignment of oxidative stress. It's the O2 molecule. And this Nrf2 alignment that exists in our body, that acts on a moment-by-moment basis, it has the ability with our product line to have the reduction of oxidative stress by a factor of 40% just after 30 days of taking it. Some see a greater response earlier in the equation, and some it takes longer for us to identify and feel. What was so profound for us when we first initially got wind of this message, we saw this ABC primetime video that was completely different than what we had ever seen before. We had often seen videos that companies had produced, and we have that wisdom and knowledge transfer through their marketing department or their company spokesperson or their doctors, etc. But what really came to the table for us was the quick awareness that the ABC primetime brought something that was completely different, because it was an investigative report that ultimately was done by somebody else. And usually those kinds of investigative reports often roast that subject matter at the end. In this case, it did nothing but explode the entire scientific world to a proportion that is unheard of in anything in the health and wellness industry.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life. It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
Can we scoop? Yeah, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body.
Leading to disease.
Leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress, and we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells. But as we get older, some of those toxic radicals overwhelm our enzymes and wreak their havoc. For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
As it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown. Experiments to see if mice live longer are about to get underway, but it's a tantalizing theory.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth?
I wouldn't put it that way, but we may have discovered something that will tell us a lot more about how we age, what happens biochemically, and maybe how we can slow it down. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? Well, perhaps. It turns out there is some other promising evidence that seems to back up Dr. McCord's findings.
That evidence comes from mice that have been genetically engineered to produce more catalase, one of the enzymes that Protandim increases. The researcher, Dr. Douglas Wallace of the University of California at Irvine, says it had a remarkable effect.
We found that they lived, in fact, about 20% longer, which is about a fifth of a lifespan.
He believes that with better techniques, human lifespan can eventually be extended too.
We might be able to increase the lifespan of a mammal by 50%. And of course, if that was a human being, then that might be in the order of 130 to 150 years.
The scientific evidence is there. The pieces seem to make sense. The question is, does this translate into something that humans can take advantage of?
So just what's in this seemingly incredible pill? Well, actually, its roots are very humble. Protandim is a combination of 5 plant ingredients. Some you may know: green tea or turmeric, a spice used in Indian cooking. Others, Withania somnifera and Silybum marianum, are more exotic.
There's a huge human experience with each of these ingredients. They've been used often in traditional medicine in India and China and many other cultures, in some cases centuries and centuries.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks.
Even mental disease.
Yes.
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression.
Dr. James Crapo with the National Jewish Medical Center in Denver is also researching Protandim for the company.
Are you saying that this could be a cure-all?
You're looking at something will have a small impact, but an important impact.
We make no claims about curing any disease or preventing any disease. We hope that when enough studies are done, perhaps such claims might be able to be made in the future.
Clinical studies to assess Protandim in both diabetes and heart disease should start in 3 to 4 months. But what about everyone's old nemesis, aging itself? Well, it's all about balance between the good antioxidants and those toxic free radicals.
And if we can tip that back, we may reduce some of the bad side effects of aging. Why my skin is different than that of a baby, for example. That's a very obvious part of the aging process.
Will this prevent wrinkles?
But you don't want to make false claims about something. But could it produce wrinkles? It's always possible.
But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result, my level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
which if extrapolated back is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would. I can't guarantee it's going to extend your life. I can't guarantee it's going to eliminate any diseases or cure any diseases.
But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. And I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
So where we were originally looking at this in the beginning, where there were hundreds and thousands of studies on oxidative stress and its relationship to every disease, instead we're looking at an environment that has gone up by thousands of studies performed by outside institutions that are happening every month. So it's a cat and mouse race right now. Everyone in the scientific world, after this ABC prime time, they recognize that this NRF2 is a very, very significant alignment to our body's health long term. So what we like to witness, or what we have seen to be able to witness, is even on that video, it talks about how he was able to reduce his oxidative stress levels in just the first couple of weeks. Some are sooner, some are faster, some are not recognized. I myself, I still have not recognized or felt a difference. I can tell you it's wonderful to know that the science world has already proven my body is functioning at a rate similar to an infant, and I feel that difference, but I can't quantitatively analyze it. But we see an enormous amount of people that are seeing great success in all of their alignments, in all of their blood work. It's just been a phenomenal result that people are able to see. If you can look at this from where it was and where it's going, I remember back in 2009, there were less than 100, I think, studies done on this NRF2, where today it's pressing close to 10,000 studies already in this subject matter. What we had to identify initially was not only the superiority of the product line and the technology that was driving it forward through the ability to biohack our body's aging process with nutrigenomics. This nutrigenomics alignment had to be distributed in an environment that was going to take long-term effect. We all recognize what the online and the viral effect of our distribution is and always will be. It continues to grow every year. What we needed to do is we needed to figure out a way where we could build some compensation into this alignment that allowed the everyday person like you and I to move out of that environment of a weekly and monthly paycheck, performance-based understanding. And we wanted to put ourselves in a position where we could take ownership in our own business. We're all familiar with the standard linear process, that 40, 50, 60-year plan, that if you have a good pension alignment, you now have a retirement date set in motion. And unfortunately, you're retiring at half the money that you were challenged by living every day and when you were working full-time, versus putting ourselves in a position that we continually bring to the table this alignment of leveraging our time and effort over and over and over. Because we've done the work once, we're going to get that income forever. We are living proof of that, and many, many other people are doing the same thing in our industry and in our company. One of the biggest challenges most people run into is not having appropriate leadership to move them forward with their own self-interest. I love the fact that we have an organization of people that are more willing to drop two hands down to help us up than for them to just continue to run on their own. I think there's a great stepping process that we'll all go through, that some of these simple benchmarks come into the equation from a mentorship standpoint, that a presentation of telling your story and showing the company story, giving them an idea of how to actually get paid. Those 15 presentations a month are just the beginning phases of you and your big time business venture. Recognizing that we can proceed forward on a regular basis to attend functions that are going to be beneficial, whether that be electronically or in person. This is a commitment that we all like to make. We recognize that it's not an immediate get-rich-quick alignment. We want long-term stability in our business. If you look at what the health industry is talking about today, you're looking at areas for a customer that you're going to attract. You're going to be looking at the anti-aging process. You're going to be looking at what animals are going to be benefiting by proper nutrition. You're looking at an entire skin program, which is a topical alignment that we recognize we have a lot of toxins that we're dealing with on a regular basis. We're also dealing with smart energy. We're dealing with the process of not having enough juice as our day continues to prolong. We also recognize that we're all concerned about our weight and our weight management program in our everyday life. If you look at the spending that exists in these markets right now, that's over a $500 billion gig right now. All we're looking to do is capture a small segment of it. If we can align people with their own business, you're looking at a platinum pack of $1,250 with a value of almost $1,800. You're getting $1,800 worth of stuff in the process. So it's not an investment, in my opinion. But when you have the opportunity to bring members into your alignment so they continue to reap the benefit of these products, you're going to see a reward. And it starts off with a 40%. And each person that you bring in with a similar platinum pack like you've done, you're going to get a $400 bonus in that process. That is going to give you an opportunity to pay back a lot of those initial expenses of getting your business started. So one of the biggest factors we wanted to create when we were developing this compensation alignment for LifeVantage, it was profoundly different. We'd love to pay the masses the majority of the money rather than the strong values at the very top of the company where few people make. If you look at some of these values, a Pro 3 and a Pro 5 and a Pro 7, Pro 9s, we're talking about 5,000, we're talking about 100,000, $1 million in volume every month in their organization. And if you were to look at the average income that these positions, these ranks are creating, you're talking $500, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. These are numbers that are real dollars. Because this company is a publicly traded company, we're able to witness and see these exact numbers. And that is really special to someone like ourselves that want people to see the proof of our successes. So for us, it's been a profound difference in our experience in the industry to see this kind of success in a monetary alignment. So when we're starting this investment, we're looking for customers and we're looking for distributors. We're going to start them off however they so choose. But whatever that first order comes to table, it's a 40% on everything that they're bringing into that first order. After that, it's going to fall into a unilevel compensation alignment that's dynamically compressed. And that system is, we're going to see a residual, ongoing, everyday existence of cash flow based on their orders that they consistently do by purchasing their products for themselves. So a one-time exposure turns into a multiple dollar revenue stream in a long-term basis. So as you see these numbers of people that we bring to the table, if we brought 5 people in, my wife and I brought 7 people in our first month. If we do it on a number of 5s, if our 5 people brought in 5 people, we're at 25 total people. If you look at the minimum requirement to maximize all of the commissions, a $200 overhead, as I like to call it, we consume a lot more than $200 personally, but at the same token, if we just do it with raw numbers, you can see how this elevates to being built out 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 layers in depth, and you're looking at $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in a monthly income. And these are very, very real numbers. I also love to see a matching bonus that is giving you incentive to actually help the people that you personally enroll, but at the same token, you also reap a benefit of a 5% bonus on their income created in this residual unilevel program, where you're going to get a 5% bonus on that income for 4 additional levels below. Because you know a sphere of people, but you don't know their sphere of people. And that's where serious money comes into the equation, because you don't know who they know. One final factor that is profoundly special to me is this company did the right thing by giving all of us the opportunity to be a part of the growth that's happened from this company as it is in inception all the way through to today, where we get the opportunity to be a part of a bonus structure worldwide, a global commissionable volume bonus. I love the fact that everybody has the opportunity to participate in that area. I love the fact that we've been able to conquer some of the greatest detriments that this industry has seen in the past, improve on them, not only by giving us a product that is literally shattering the world from a scientific standpoint called nutrigenomics, but we've also been aligned with a company that is publicly traded, that we have the ability to identify where the monies are and where they're going, and then having the ability to pay the majority, almost 50% of 50 cents on every dollar back to that field where the work is being performed, has created an enormous story that is attracting some of the greatest leaders in our industry, the greatest neighbors to the greatest friends that we haven't even met, that has brought enormous amount of wealth and health to so many people. We thank you, and we'll see you on the next call.